Right, in our last video on documentation in our writing, we're going to talk about the Works Cited page. And the Works Cited page is a page that comes at the end of your document, and it's going to contain a list of all of the outside sources that you consulted for your paper, and it's going to contain a full bibliographical accounting of all of the outside sources. So whereas the in-text citation was just author and page number, the works cited citation, and they go hand in hand. Remember, the in-text citation points you to the works cited citation. The works cited citation is going to be the full accounting of where you got that source. Now, something to consider for MLA style citation is that it is container based, which means what we are framing our citations as where we found them. In what container did we find them? And by container, I mean in what kind of media? Did we find them in a book? Were they contained in a book? Were they contained in a journal article? Were they contained in a database, an electronic database? So it's kind of container based. Generally speaking, a works cited citation would be formatted in the following way, in the following order, with the punctuation for each type for each element in the citation listed after. So this is a good starting graphic. However, it's important to understand that not all types of sources will have a version or a number. Books won't have version or number, and journal articles might not have location. So this is just kind of a general outline of which elements we include in all of our sources or in our citations and what punctuation comes at the end. Now we're going to go over all of the different types of sources that you may encounter in your research so that you have the information you need. But this is a really good graphic to refer back to. So some general things to consider. The first thing, like I said, Works Cited is a full bibliographic accounting of a resource. It comes on the last page of the document. It will have a continuous header and page number. So in the text of your research paper, you had in the text of your research paper, you had a header that had your last name and the page number. This is going to be continuous. It's all contained in the same file. So if your paper was 4 pages long and your works cited page is going to be page 5, then the header at the top of that page will be your last name and the page number 5. And it should all be in the same file. What I do when I get to the end of a paper, into the text of my paper, is I just hit Control Enter on my keyboard. That'll start a new blank page at the end of the document for you to list your works cited citations. And we're going to alphabetize all of the citations by whatever comes first in the citation. Usually it's author last name, but they need to be alphabetized. We use title capitalization for all of the elements in our citations. Title capitalization means we capitalize the first word in the element. We also capitalize all of the other words in the element except for articles and prepositions like a, and, the, of, in, all of those types of words we don't capitalize, and that's title capitalization. I want you to be really sure that you pay close attention to what goes where and what's italicized and what's not italicized, because that's an important part of it. And if you're ever in doubt, you want to be sure that you look it up. Rewatch the video, take really good notes, or consult the manual, because all of the citations are listed in the manual. Another really good resource that I use whenever I have citation questions is the OWL at Purdue, the online writing lab at Purdue. It's very, very helpful in citation. That's kind of where English professors go when they have questions. So those are some sources. And after you look it up, if you still have questions, you can send me what you think the citation might be, and I can help you work out any kinks you might have from there. Some other things to consider before we talk about specific citations. Book titles, journal names, and database names are always italicized, and that's anywhere in MLA, but this happens most often in our works cited citation. So anytime you are including a book title in a citation, it needs to be italicized. Journal names are italicized. Database names are italicized. Short story titles, article titles, poem titles, and chapter titles will all be in quotation marks, but we never do both. It's either going to be italicized, or it's going to have quotation marks, or it's going to be neither. If you've gotten information from an article in a database or an ebook, and the vast majority of your database, of your journal articles are going to be from a database, then you have to include the database information as well. And if you have a works cited list and you haven't cited database information, that container information for any of your journal articles, I'm going to ask to see the paper journals, because that's what you're saying in your citation. I pulled this off of a shelf. If you got it from a library database, we have to include that database information, because these works cited citations are like a roadmap. They're like a map, and you're wanting to point your reader to the exact spot where you found the resource. And if you're not telling them that it's in a database, then you're not giving them all the information they need to find it. It's like if what you're citing is a chapter in a book, you have to cite it as a work in an anthology. And this is important. If you're taking notes, put a star next to what I'm about to say. Our textbook is an anthology, and an anthology is a collection of stories or a collection of essays, a collection of something. And that's what our textbook is, because our textbook has information from lots of different places. All right, so the first type of citation that I'm going to talk about is a book, just plain book, one author. This is how you'll cite it. Last name, comma, first name. This is author, last name, comma, first name, period. The title of the book will be italicized, using title capitalization with a period after. Then you're going to put the publisher, comma, the year of publication, period. Super simple. The new MLA format, MLA edition 8, does not require city of publication. So you don't have to include that. We just need the name of the publishing company, comma, the year of publication, period. And there's an example there. If you have a book that has two authors, what you're going to do is you're going to list the first author's last name, comma, first name, and then you're going to put the word and, first name of the second author, last name of the second author, period, and then the rest will be the same. Like here in our example, Ann Shapiro and Bob Jones wrote this book. This is totally made up. So I put Shapiro, comma, Ann, and Bob Jones. If you have a book that has an introduction, a foreword, or an afterword, and lots of the books about authors will have an introduction, a foreword, or an afterword, we have to give credit where credit is due. So if I have a book by Mark Twain and someone named Bob Jones, not very inventive with my names there, Bob Jones, if he wrote the introduction and you're going to cite information from that introduction, then we have to give credit to Bob Jones because he wrote the thing that you're actually going to cite. So in this example, we would put the author, this is backwards. It should be author last name, comma, author first name, like in our example, Jones, comma, Bob, period. Then the name of the section. He wrote the introduction. It may be called foreword, it may be called preface, it may be called afterword. Whatever section that you're citing, you'll put here, period. You're going to put the name of the book, italicized with title capitalization, the word by, and the original author, comma, the publisher, comma, the year of publication, comma, PP period, and the page range of the entry, period. And these XXI to XXV, these are lowercase Roman numerals. Usually that's what we use for introductions, forewords, preface, things like that. All right, so those are some book situations you may run into. If you are accessing an article in a scholarly journal and it's through a database, which this is the only example I've included in this particular video lecture because I think that's the vast majority of what you'll do. You're going to include the author's last name, comma, first name, period, the title of the article, title, capitalization, quotation marks around it, and we're going to put a period before the end of the quotation mark. And that's important. The title of the periodical, this is a container, it's contained in this periodical. Title, capitalization, italicized, comma, VOL period, and then the volume number, comma. This is actually going to be NO. I have some typos in my lecture. NO period, the number, the issue number, comma, the date of publication, comma, PP period, the page range, period, the title of the database, italicized with title capitalization, comma, and the URL. And all you're going to do is copy and paste from the website where you got this, the database website. So Tara Fitzpatrick wrote this particular journal article that I'm citing, Fitzpatrick, comma, Tara, period. I've put the title of the article in quotation marks using title capitalization, period before the end quotation. The name of the journal where I got this article is NWSA Journal, so I've italicized that there, comma, this was volume 5, issue number 2, comma, this is the year
This
of
song's for you, featuring
publication.
Zach Brown Band is by Joey plus Rory and Zach Brown Band.
Siri thought I was talking to her, sorry. So volume, issue number, comma, the year of publication, comma, PP and the page range, period, the name of the database, comma, and the URL where I found this particular resource, and we're going to put a period at the end. So all of your journal articles should be formatted exactly like this. Now, we need to talk a little bit about anthologies because you're going to be citing anthologies frequently in your response papers. Again, our book is an anthology. It's a collection of stories. And if I'm citing one story from the textbook or from an anthology, or really if it's any kind of anthology where it's a collection of different things, I'm going to do author last name, comma, author first name. This is different than the editor. For our textbook, the editor is Del Banco and Chus. Yeah, I think that's his last name. They didn't write, A Rose for Emily. Somebody else did. William Faulkner did. And we always start with the author of the thing that we're citing. So we have author last name, comma, author first name, period. The title of the story or the essay in quotation marks with the ending period before the ending quotation. The year of original publication, period. The title of the anthology, comma, and then you're going to put edited by, and then the editor's name or the editor's names, comma, the edition, comma, the publisher, comma, the year of anthology publication, comma, PP, period, the page range of the entry. So for A Rose for Emily, William Faulkner wrote that story, so I'm going to list him first. Then I put the name of the story. Then I put the year it was originally published. That information is in the textbook. This is the name of our textbook, italicized, comma. It was edited by these two gentlemen here, comma. It's a second edition, comma. It was published by McGraw-Hill, comma, in 2013, comma. PP, period. This is the page range of that story, period. Okay, that's how we're going to cite one story. If we have an anthology, a collection of whatever, essays or stories or articles, and we're just citing one, then this is what we'll do. If we're citing chapter information, this gets a little bit complicated, the anthology. In your textbook, you have chapter information like chapters on theme and character and so on and so forth. The editors generally did write that. We cite the editors when we're citing chapter information in an anthology, particularly in a textbook. So for that, we would cite it this way. So we would put the editors first, comma, and then we would put the title editors so that our readers understood these were the editors of the book. The name of the book, period, the edition, comma, the publisher, comma, and the year of publication, period. So if we're citing the editors, and usually this is what we do when we cite chapter information, like the actual chapters in the textbook, not the stories that are included. This is the format that we'd use. However, if we are citing more than one story or more than one essay in an anthology, like let's say I write a paper about Kate Chopin and William Faulkner, and I'm citing both of these stories of an hour in a Rose for Emily. They're in the same anthology. What we're going to do is we're going to include that editor citation that we did here in this previous slide. So this will be in our list. And we're also going to cite both of the stories separately, and we're just going to abbreviate them a little bit. So we'll just put author last name, author first name, period, the name of the work, and then it's just going to say the editor's names, Delbanco and Chus, comma, page 155. Okay, this is just a one-page story, so it's just on one page. Down here you can see this is a range, 323 to 327. And I wrote the Faulkner citation here as well. So what my reader understands here when they come to the Chopin citation, and they'll be listed in alphabetical order on your Works Cited page, so this is how they'll look. The Chopin citation will be listed, and it's just kind of an abbreviated citation. It's going to point our readers to the Delbanco and Chus citation down here, and this does the same. The William Faulkner citation here points them to the editor citation here. So that's what we'll do if we have two or more works in the same anthology. If we're citing a website, and again for your research paper you don't cite a website, but in other cases you may need to, this is what we'll do. Author of the web article, comma, author first name, period. The title of the article, the web page, or the web document in quotation marks with a period before the end quotation. Title of the website italicized, comma, the date of publication if we have it, comma, the website URL. And we don't put the HTTP : / in our citation. So instead of it being HTTP / www.huffingtonpost, we're just putting this in our citation. So if Bob Jones wrote this and its Facebook is bad, this was his article published on the Huffington Post, this is what we would cite. Now sometimes your web articles, your websites in particular, are not going to have authors. We just skip that then. Okay, if we don't have an author, we just skip that in our citation and head directly to the name of the web page. This is the overall website. Okay. I hope that helps. This is, like I said, a really, not confusing, but a really detail-oriented task to create these Works Cited pages. But it's really important. Like I said, it's a roadmap for your reader so that they understand exactly where to find the sources that you did. If anything comes up in your research or your writing that is not in this presentation, of course, you want to consult the manual first. It should be there. And again, if you have questions about how you would cite it, I'm happy to help with revising an existing citation. But start here, all right? If you come across something and you're not sure how to cite it, just start here. Does it have an author? That's going to go first. Does it have a title? That's going to go next. What is the container? That goes next. What is the date? That goes, just kind of work through the chart here with the appropriate punctuation after each element, and that's a good place to start. And then we can work through any weird things or editing we need to do together. So if you have any questions, please be sure